Peachy. Welcome back to my channel. Can you guys tell that I'm feeling better today? Because I certainly feel better. What is it, day 7, day 8 of my pre-op diet, but I'm actually feeling really good now, which is great. But I thought it would be a good segue to start talking about the pre-op diet and how to survive it, because that was a rough start. And I know I want to set the precedence here that each doctor and each surgeon is different when it comes to this protocol. So all it really takes is, checking out some other YouTubers, checking on Google, and you'll see that the pre-op diet is different for every type of surgery. It is different for every type of surgeon and doctor. They kind of all have their own protocol. So really, I'm just basically talking about the protocol that I was asked to follow. And my surgery is going to be with Dr. Hamilton at Bariatric Center of Kansas City, which is in Lenexa, Kansas. And so I'm really only talking about the pre-op diet that he's got me following. So that's what we're going to focus on. So I do want to set the stage again that everyone is different and every surgeon is different. So just keep that in mind when you're going through videos. Just follow what your doctor has prescribed for you, what they are requesting that you do. They do tend to alter a little bit to suit somebody's needs and their own individual issues that they're struggling with. There is a common theme amongst it about, maybe how long or what you can have, but just double check with your surgeon to make sure. Don't follow anybody who's creating a video about it, because you really want to stick to what your doctor is advising. That being said, about 7 or 8 days into it now, and I gotta say those first few days were really, really tough. Not in terms of sticking to the diet, which we'll get into here in a little bit. It really had to do with kind of detoxing and feeling icky. Just cutting out food and just going straight to a liquid diet. It was really rough. So I made a few posts about it on Facebook and Instagram, but it definitely was not a pleasant beginning. And I don't think it really is for anybody, because you're detoxing from it all. So yeah, it was definitely no joke at all. Definitely hangry, irritable. But I do have to say I am proud of myself. I have not cheated, which is great. I have been able to stay full. I use the term full loosely, because liquid goes through you pretty fast. But if I'm caught in a moment where I'm hangry, then I know that I can grab a protein drink or some broth or something and kind of calm myself down a little bit. But it is tough. Now I'm in a routine, and now I'm just kind of trucking along. And I'm sure if you guys had watched my insurance approval video, you know that I had mentioned that the surgeon that I was originally seeing in Arizona, kind of a red flag went up when she said a pre-op diet wasn't needed for the surgery, because based off of everything that I've researched on either YouTube or through the internet, is that it's actually really important, because you're wanting to shrink down your liver, and it really sets the stage for what kind of diet you're going to be on for a little bit after surgery. So I think it is important. That's why I'm really glad that I'm actually doing it. That being said, I do want to go ahead and cover specifically what my pre-op diet is, and what I'm going to do is show you guys a couple of pictures here of the protocol that's actually in the notebook that the surgeon and the center gave me. It gives a ton of information, but I'm just focusing on the pre-op diet section. So I'll go ahead and I'll show those pictures now. So this is basically the rundown of like a sample menu of what it would look like on a day on a pre-op liquid diet. And this next picture is really about what you can have during that pre-op diet. So there's quite a lot listed here. When you first start out though, you're kind of like, oh, this feels really limited. I don't know about this. But I do have some tips and tricks that I think will help kind of ease those first few days, because you're already going to be hangry and irritable at it as it is. You might as well help yourself out a little bit. So one thing that I did that I thought was really helpful is I started my pre-op diet on a day off, because I knew I was going to feel icky and irritable, and nobody wants to take that to work. So I started on a day off. Just gave myself that time. So I'd recommend, if you can, start on a day off, or at least maybe take a couple of days off until you get used to it, because it is an adjustment. And it's probably best to give yourself some time. Now, if you're one of those people that like to stay super busy to keep your mind off it, certainly do that. I tried that, and I tried it on the morning of the first day, and it made for a rough day. Made for a very rough day. So it really depends. If you think you can handle it and stay busy, then go for it. If you think that you need to kind of decompress a little bit and go through it slowly, then I'd recommend taking a day off. In terms of even taking the day off, keep your mind occupied. Now, I don't mean like staying busy, but keep your mind occupied. Like, dive into that book you've been holding on to, or journal, or meditate, or garden, anything that's going to help kind of keep your mind off things, but not keep you super busy. Because again, you're detoxing and you're not really taking in that many calories. So just be cautious of that. Definitely rest more when you can. Again, you're not taking in quite as many calories as you're used to. So one of the best recommendations I received that I wanted to pass on was to try and rest when you need to. So when you're feeling drained or feeling weak, try and rest for a little bit. What else? Let me see here. Tips and tricks. If you do struggle with blood sugar levels, I was recommended to check mine 3 to 4 times a day. I do have to say that I was very concerned that going on the pre-op diet that I was going to crash and face lows, and weirdly enough, I'm facing quite the opposite, where my blood sugars are actually a little bit high right now, which is unusual. So I did contact the nurse about that, and they said that it's probably because you're detoxing, your liver is dumping a lot of glucose into your system to kind of keep things going. It will stabilize, especially after surgery. And it wasn't at a high enough level for them to be concerned. It was just a little bit elevated from where it was before. So not a super huge concern, just something to keep an eye out for. So don't be alarmed if the place that you're seeing does have you kind of monitor that if you're struggling with blood sugar levels. What's another tip and trick? Isolate if needed. I kind of threw this one out there because I currently live with 4 other people. And 3 of us work from home, and we got a lot going on. And sometimes when you're hangry and you're irritable, you don't want to take that out on anybody, because it's really not something that they're doing. It's just how you're processing things, or going through the motions of this whole pre-op diet and just all the emotions behind that. And just kind of detoxing and feeling icky. And I think everybody's kind of on edge when you feel icky anyways. So if you need to take a moment for yourself, I'm not saying lock yourself in a closet or anything, but if you need some alone time just to kind of step away, take some deep breaths, maybe do some meditation or prayer, just take a moment for yourself. If you need to isolate to kind of check yourself, I'd recommend it, because I've had to do it where I was like, okay, I need a moment. I'm going to be in my room for a minute and let whatever was going on pass. And then get right back into it. But if you do need to give yourself space, give yourself space. One thing that I have found that is extremely helpful as well is reach out to your support system. I've got my husband, I've got friends, both here and in state and out of state and in another state. I've got all kinds of resources everywhere. So don't be afraid to utilize that. If you don't have friends and family close to you, or someone that you can contact quickly, reach out on social media to support groups. There's tons of them out there. And I'm sure somebody is always willing to encourage and support. So definitely take advantage of that. Now, some other things that I wanted to talk about is some products that I think helped get me through most of this pre-op process. I had to get a little creative with some products, so we are going to dive into that here soon. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into the products that help me with pre-op diet. I've got a little list here, so I've just been making a list as I go through the pre-op diet of some things that have helped that I wanted to pass on. Okay, so number one, essential oils. If you like essential oils and can tolerate them, I would definitely help. I have an essential oils necklace that I wear all the time, and it's helped immensely. And I also have a diffuser, and I'll diffuse some oils, things like anxiety release or something relaxing to help you sleep. I have found that to be really beneficial. So if you're into essential oils, definitely start utilizing them. Be prepared with a good water bottle, a good thermos for your broth or tea, and make sure that your protein drinks are chilled. So this kind of ties into being prepared for what's going on with your pre-op diet. So again, get that shelf stocked up with all the products that's on your approved list. And then that way, day one, you're ready to dive in. You've got your water bottle, you got your thermos or mug of some sort, you've got your chilled protein drinks, you're ready to go. The last thing you want to do on day one, or any of these days, to be quite honest, is start fumbling around trying to find something you need or run to the store when you're super weak and hangry to grab something. Don't give yourself opportunities to fail when you're feeling weak. Next tip and trick here. Let's talk about variety. Variety in the types of broth that you use or take. There's so many bouillon bases out there now that you really don't have to restrict yourself to just chicken broth or beef broth. On my particular approved list, I had the option of using bouillon and using consomme and things like that. So there's different powder mixes, as long as, or even like gel mixes that are bouillon based that you mix with water, but it's still a clear liquid when you take it in. It's not a cream liquid. And then that way you can mix some flavors. So don't be afraid to try some recipes or get creative on your own about mixing those. So you can find something that works pretty good for you. Next tip and trick. Popsicles. So on my list, I have the option of having sugar-free popsicles. The issue with that is that sugar-free popsicles normally have aspartame in it, and I can't have any artificial sweeteners that have like aspartame in them because they cause migraines. So I'm like, I'm going to have to get creative because everything in the store is showing aspartame, and I'm like, oh, I can't have it. So what I did, and I'll link in the description below, I found these really cool molds on Amazon. So I made my own Gatorade Zero popsicles. So that was fun. So if don't feel too discouraged if you can't find a particular product. Just do a little bit of research online, see if you can find an alternative. Another one was sugar-free Jello. Again, sugar-free Jello in the store has aspartame. So, and I'll link this in the description as well. I found sugar-free Jello with Splenda on Amazon. Now this stuff yields quite a bit, and I'll show you guys a photo of just some Jello in the fridge that I had made. And this is probably half the quantity from like 3 or 4 packages, I think, that me and my friend made. So it yields quite a lot. So even though the whole like variety pack costs $20, it's a lot of Jello. So you'll be set for quite a while. So I had to get creative with that. Some other things that I have done to kind of mix things up a little bit. So let's talk about that. So on my approved list, I can have decaf coffee if I want. So one of the days that I was really struggling, I was like, I'm going to have to get creative about what I can do to keep this from getting boring. So I have some decaf coffee, and I had vanilla creamer, and I've also done vanilla Premier protein shakes, and then I also had the caramel Premier protein shakes. And what I did is I made my decaf coffee, and then I used a milk frother, which if you don't know what that is, just search for it on Amazon or on Google. I'll try and link a description below on the one that I have. And I basically whipped up the decaf coffee with a little bit of Splenda and a little bit of my protein drink until it became like really frothy. And then I added the rest of my protein drink on it, and it kind of made like a cappuccino. It was interesting, and it was actually really good. And I guess when you're deprived on food, it probably would taste good, but it kept it interesting. And because everything was like really frothed up, it felt like it hit my stomach differently and helped me stay full. I know that sounds weird, but one of those things that I just kind of threw together and it worked. So I've been doing that in the morning, and it's been awesome. Layer your flavors on your Jell-O cups, which is something that my friend actually recommended. So instead of just doing one boring flavor, layer it. So that way you get kind of a mix of different fruits and flavors going on in the Jell-O if you're doing the sugar-free Jell-O. Don't be afraid to do your Premier protein shakes or whatever shakes you're doing hot or cold if that's something that they say you can do. I know with Premier Proteins you can. So like for me, again, with the caramel or the vanilla, I like adding that to decaf coffee and making it hot. You're still taking in your clear liquid, you're still taking in your protein drink, and you're kind of making it feel like it isn't liquid diet, like you're just having like a cappuccino or a latte or something. So definitely look into doing either hot or cold. Another one is to use flavor enhancers on your water if it's on your approved list. So I've been using things like Propel. Their drink mixes don't have aspartame in it, so I've been adding that to water if I want to kind of change things up or get a different flavor. And that's really helped too. Of course, there's a ton of tricks out there and tips for VSG. I'm just kind of sharing what I've experienced or what I've looked into to try. I know there's been a bunch on TikTok. There's stuff all over YouTube about it. And of course, I encourage you guys to all be creative yourself too. So kind of come up with what works for you, staying within protocol. But so far, that's what I have for surviving a pre-op diet. So, again, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything that you want me to elaborate on, just feel free to comment below. And I'll see about doing another video about the particular topic. But for right now, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I think next video will probably be while maybe I'm on the road. If I have time to film before we head out to Kansas, I'll try. But I want to take a moment to kind of discuss how COVID has affected this whole process and how it's going to affect the process of getting surgery. It'll be a very quick and brief video, but something I do want to share considering COVID is still an ongoing issue right now. But yeah, I think we're good. So remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.